Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode we are finally going to finish off the dash on Harry. Alright guys, welcome back, and those following for the last few weeks will have seen that I've been working on redoing the dash of Harry because I wasn't happy with how it was done originally. My skills have improved a lot since I originally did it, and also because I've added my classic retrofit air conditioning, I needed to add more vents to the car, so I've added these 964 vents here. I've still got a bit to do on this centre vent in the middle. I've got to make a 3D printed surround for that to make that a little bit neater than what it currently is. And obviously I went through and redid this and re-added my tartan because the tartan is good. Few comments that came out of last week. There were lots of people going, why didn't I cover up the screws on the vents? They're not screws. That is actually the open and closed symbols of the vent. So it's they're symbols, not screws. So yeah, some people said it bothered them. I think they look fine because it's functional, original bits. The same thing on a Singer. So that's there. And there were also a lot of people who were suggesting that I could have used a foam backing underneath these panels here, which is the same as what I did on the door trims and stuff. But I didn't want that look because it would be all puffy around the whole thing. It would be just sort of soft and squishy and puffy, which is not the look I was going for. I deliberately didn't want that. I wanted it to be sharp and flat and crisp, which is what I've got. Now, at this stage, we have the everything sort of, this end is just taped together and just sitting there. That's why this is not all perfectly lined up, because this is just taped onto the glove box. Oh, there you go. It's all fallen out and fallen apart because it's only temporarily there. So the thing that I want to tackle this week is I need to make a dash pad for this car. Now, a guy named John is fantastic and actually sent me up a set of old dash pads that he had for a car. They're all cracked and stuff. And I sort of had a bit of a go at retrimming them. I didn't really, I just wanted to see if they would fit. And when I had the dash before, my dash was still too big and wouldn't fit around them, so I could never put them on. When I got this car, it actually had this sort of dealer-fitted aftermarket sort of factory air conditioning that had changed out the bottom dash pads and had these sort of vents in it. But it was pretty ugly and very big, sat really low, and it sort of got in the way of your knees and stuff underneath the steering wheel. It wasn't very nice, and I only had half of the system. I didn't have the whole air conditioning system, just some of it. So I've never actually had a dash pad in this car. Now, the issue I've already discovered is because of all this stuff that I built off of the dash, the current hinge point on the glove box means that this is actually, if I put the dash pad underneath, the glove box is going to hit it. It's not going to clear where it needs to do. So I actually need to change that hinge location. And basically, if I bring it out roughly level with this, with the face of the glove box, then I can have a round section that it will pivot over the top of. If you can imagine, at the moment, the glove box is pivoting here. So you can see this bottom corner is going straight down and it would hit a dash pad. Whereas if I pivot it here, it will curve around and I can actually have it so it goes around the dash pad, not running straight into it. It'll make more sense when I actually start playing with it, but that's something I need to change. And I need to build the dash pad itself, because now this dash pad was designed for the original car where it had the angled cuts and the small little vents. Now I've squared this off and put the 964 style in. I need to build a dash pad from scratch. So that is what I'm going to tackle today. Okay, so you saw that I drilled out the hinge panel from the bottom of the glove box. It was spot welded onto the glove box, but then the other half of it was actually still part of the hinge. So I put that in the guillotine and cut it off as well. I didn't want to cut up the angle grinder because I would have taken out a section of it and changed the sort of dimensions of it. And I want to try and keep the dimensions the same. I did some measuring and I want to extend it by 15 millimeters. So basically move the whole hinge forward 15 millimeters. So by cutting it in half, I've actually cut out a couple of 16 mil strips. This is 1.6 mil steel plate, which is the same as what this hinge is. So it's nice and thick, solid stuff. So I'm going to sand it all back now and weld these together and try it out, make sure it all fits, and then we can weld it all up and hopefully I have an extended hinge. And while I'm thinking of it, I would like to introduce you to my latest bench edition. I actually saw this, I can't remember the YouTube channel. It was a sort of a farm warehouse type YouTube channel, but I did a look at a really well-designed garage, and I saw this modification. I thought it was absolutely amazing. A lot of people were complaining I had my bench grinder sitting up on the bench, and every time I used it, it was sort of flopping around the bench. Not anymore. So I have my bench grinder on these hinges here that hinge under the table, and I've got a little wire hook that hooks it in and holds it up underneath. The wires are all sort of tucked in and hidden all the way around, but it's connected and powered up. So there's no pulling it out and plugging it in or trying to put it into bolted spots or whatever. It just flops straight back under the table again when I'm finished, but comes out. I saw that and I thought, that is absolutely brilliant. I think this is amazing. So yeah, it's nice and convenient. It's right here. Let's use it. All right, so I've added these 15 mil strips onto either side now and just tacked them into place so that I've actually got my extended hinge of this, this whole setup. And if I put my plates back on, my face plates back on, yeah, that's looking much better. The hinge is now much more in line with the outside here. So hopefully I can put a dash pad over there and this will now hinge over the top of that. So now it's time to bolt it back into the car and give it a bit of a test run to see if it's actually going to work and do what we need it to do. All right, so now I am happy with my hinge. It's all working, it's the way it's supposed to, and it's clearing the dash pad. I need to work on what I'm going to do to make my lower dash pad. And as I mentioned, I've never had one, so I've had a look around, and the original one is actually just a foam covered in vinyl, and I've got me thinking, I grabbed myself some of this stuff. So this stuff is like insulating foam from the hardware store. It's nice and square and straight. It's about the thickness that I want. And so I sort of thought that's going to be nice and easy to shape and then just cover in vinyl, and it'll be nice and once it's covered in vinyl, it actually holds and it gets a lot of strength. So I was actually thinking that's going to be the thing I need, and so I actually just carved myself out a little piece, worked out how I needed to carve it so that I could actually get my sort of size for my dash pad, and I made it up so that it could actually fit into place underneath here, and that's what I was looking for. And I kept carving it and adjusting it until I got the shape that will actually clear so that my glove box can open over the top of it. And yeah, as I said, once now it's covered in vinyl, it actually has some good shape. So what I need to do now is see if I can make a piece out of this to run the whole length of the dash and carve it into shape so that it sits up nicely. It's going to take a little bit of tweaking backwards and forwards to get it right, but I think it should be reasonably straightforward. Famous last words, let's get into it. All right, so I've been carving out this quite a bit and trying to get it to fit into the place that I need. So I've got it pretty close now of where it needed to be. I am going to have to do a join somewhere, which I'll probably do underneath the steering wheel. I can cover it in one piece, but I'll join the foam internally. The issue I'm seeing now is now that I've actually gutted it out so much, it's far too flexible for what I want. Even though when it's covered, it's going to be firmer, just holding that nice, crisp, straight line that I want, this is not currently doing it. So I'm having a bit of a rethink now, and I'm sort of coming up with a way that I can potentially put a bit of a reinforcing metal brace underneath it, impregnated into it somehow, just so that it is that nice, crisp piece that I'm looking for. So I've gone through now and I've made up my two bits to go together. So it's a bit longer than what I need. I'm going to, as I said, join it under the steering wheel. So I'm going to sit this in now, work out where it is. And as you saw, I've made up a couple of these braces. So these, it's just, I cut out a strip, folded it in my brake, and I'm going to sit it underneath at the back, something like that. So it will clip in and reinforce this piece all the way along. It'll also give me something that I can bolt through into under the dash. So I can put bolts through here and actually bolt it up under the dash, and it'll be nice and secure. So we are getting there gradually. I'm quite happy with the look of it so far. So now it's time to get the width just right, and then we can start looking at joining it all together into one piece and trimming it. All right, so a bit of hot glue gun later, and I've just glued on the my metal reinforcing strip on the back. This is much stronger than it was, and I've got it all one piece now, and it fits beautifully underneath the dash here. So I haven't done any mounting strips for it yet or anything like that, but now it's time to start shaping the front of it and getting that curve just right on the front to give the look that I'm after. Then it might be time to mount it and trim it. All right, well that was pretty simple to mount. I just sort of worked out roughly the spots along underneath I needed to mount it. I've got 4 screw holes. I drilled holes through my metal reinforcing bar and then put some riv nuts into the dash, and 4 bolts, done, easy, mounted, nice and neat and tidy. All right, so I have my dash pad I am really happy with now. So now it's time to trim it up in vinyl, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge because the basic shape, straight, it's going to be pretty easy to get that wrapped in vinyl. The hard bit is going to be the ends, which I want to sew around the ends, sew caps on the ends so it looks nice and neat and tidy, and that's where it gets difficult. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I've got my vinyl down now on the table. I'm going to measure up what I need and then go in and we'll see if we can sew some caps on the end and try and get it nice and neat and tidy without messing it up. That's where the hard bit comes. All right, so you saw me get out and trace around the panel that I need to actually trim, and I traced around the ends, and I've now measured an extra 10 millimeters around the edge of everything. So I need the overlap where I'm going to sew these pieces together. So there's 10 millimeters on the edge of my piece, and also these little marks, these little nicks, so that I know that I can line both pieces up together so that when I sew them, they're in the right spot. So I've got my pieces marked out now, so now it's just time to sew it together. Okay, so I have the dash pad in now, but while I was building it, I ended up snapping either end off. I had a real trouble getting the trimming over the top of the foam and snap the foam off on both ends. So it's sort of got this wobbly end on either side that really doesn't look good. I am definitely not happy with that result at all. But that's just the way it, you know, the cookie crumbles sometimes. It doesn't always work the first time. So maybe if it's worth doing, it's worth doing twice. I just didn't want to do this twice. Yep, it doesn't always work. So at least I'm going to show you when it works and when it doesn't work. And that didn't work. So it's going to need revisiting. I'm going to do something else. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it to get the trimming nice and tight and still being able to get it on. The trouble is that as soon as I spray the spray glue onto both pieces, trying to sort of fit the whole thing in, it all sticks to itself, and it's just really difficult being able to do both ends as one piece. So having one solid dash pad all the way down. I am a very, very beginner trimmer, and yeah, and I definitely don't have it. And this is also, it's probably a little bit loose. I did it with no stretch to sort of stretch it on. So I just lay the piece down, so the length is probably a little bit too long. If I shortened it a little bit, I think it would stretch a little bit more and would probably fit a bit better. But that is well and truly all the time I had this week. So hopefully you enjoyed the trials and tribulations of getting the dash looking better in Harry. This is definitely not the quality that I'm going to sit by and be happy with. If you want to watch the videos a day before everybody else ad-free, join us on Patreon. And if you need parts for any of your Porsches, including vents and all sorts of bits for any era, please go and compare prices at PorschePartsByJeff.com first. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.